Thank you for your participation in my research study. In this video, you will learn how to use the Digital Instructional Planner, also known as the DIP. When starting to use the DIP, you'll notice that there are several fill-in-the-blank boxes, drop-down boxes, and check boxes. When creating a lesson plan, it is not necessary for you to use all the sections that are comprised within the DIP. You'll start with the areas that you are most familiar with, and as you're building knowledge, watching the Wikispace videos and exploring the videos and step-by-step tutorials for each of the sections of the DIP, then you can expand and include other sections as you become more proficient with planning using multiple research-based instructional strategies. You can also create lessons for days or multiple days depending on how your lesson is planned. So let's start with the subject area. In this box you would write the subject area that you are teaching. In this case I am teaching a reading lesson. Grade level, this one gives me an option of 2 because it's a second grade DIP. So I click there, type in your last name, put in the instructional dates of your lesson, and project out when you think that you will be doing your assessment. If you have any pre-test information or post-test information, you can type that in here because it is a fill-in-the-blank box. For English Language Arts Standards, you'll notice that there are 3 boxes, so those are 3 drop-downs. So if I click here, it lets me decide which one I want to use. I can choose 2 other standards if appropriate. For reading standards, I can click the drop-down here, and I have options to choose 3 other standards if applicable. Over here for other standards, I can copy and paste any other standards or access points by going through CPOMs. If you're not familiar with that, be sure and watch introductory video on ELL standards on the Wikispace. There is a Wikispace video for each of the sections. The next section is the required technology. Here I'm using a smartboard, so you notice I checked in that checkbox. There is also a Wikispace for CRIS strategies, instructing you on all these various instructional strategies for CRIS. So in this lesson, I'm introducing vocabulary, so I checked off 1 and 2 for vocabulary mapping, definitions, and semantic feature analysis. You'll notice that there's a 1 in the parentheses. This indicates to you that this is also the first Marzano strategy listed in this checkoff box. So I can go ahead and check off 1 here for similarities and differences because we're going to be looking at what is similar and different on these vocabulary words. The next section is the ELL Instructional Strategies Matrix, which is also another section in the wiki page. So here I checked off charts and semantic feature analysis, which is the same as here, semantic feature analysis. So those are both ELL instructional strategies as well. Under ESC accommodations, I'm using visual formats and written expression. For Universal Design for Learning, I will be using each of the 3 principles: representation, action and expression, and engagement. Here I'll be using section 2 and section 2 and section 1 of those respective areas. So under the checkpoints for multiple means of representation, I check 2. So over here under section 2, I specifically am using clarify vocabulary and symbols. Under here, principle 2, I'm also using section 2. So here, action and expression, section 2, I'm using multiple tools for construction and composition. Students will have a choice of which type of graph or semantic feature analysis they would like to do. They will have several graphic organizers to choose from. Under multiple means of engagement, I have section 1 under this principle for recruiting interest, and specifically for engagement, I will be optimizing their individual choice by allowing the student to choose which graphic organizer they want to use. Under NETS standards, students will demonstrate creative thinking and construct knowledge and develop innovative products and process using technologies. And over here, for the teacher, we'll be using this section in their lesson. The remainder of the lesson plan is differentiated instruction. So here you can write in the fill-in-the-blank box your essential question for the lesson, your daily agenda. Under learning goal, you will refer back to the depth of knowledge area. So this will be a level 1, and I will choose one of these and I may choose one of these key verbs to use in writing my learning goal. Your learning goal covers the content, which is the first section of differentiated instruction, is looking at the content that you are going to be differentiating. The next 4 sections is how you're going to differentiate the process of how the student will be interacting with their knowledge. This last section of differentiated instruction is the 3-tier products. How am I closing the lesson? Am I providing any homework? And what method of specific and immediate feedback am I using to give to the students at the end of the lesson on how they accomplished their learning? Any remediation activity that I may foresee that may be needed, and any enrichment activity that I may foresee that may be needed for my students that may complete the work early. So that's how you complete your digital instructional planner. To create another lesson, you just simply click New Record here in this section, and it will create a blank lesson for you to complete. And you'll notice now that I have 2 lessons, because there's a number 2 up at the top left-hand corner, which I can scroll back and forth using these arrow buttons to see the lessons. If I want to duplicate this lesson because I'm doing something similar 2 weeks from now, I can simply go back to this lesson. I can go to Records at the top, click Duplicate Record. It will duplicate the record, and now you see I have a 3 where before I had 2. So if I go back to 1, you'll see that lesson, and then number 3 is the duplicated one. So now I can go around. Now I can go to the different checkboxes, unclick, and check what I'm doing differently. So I can modify anything that I'm doing. So here I see 2, so now I would uncheck 1 and check 2, because that's the second Marzano strategy. I can modify anything else throughout this lesson plan. There are different views. You can view it as 1 lesson per page. If you click this, it puts all the lessons in a scroll, so you can see the first, the second, and the third lesson all running together. Or if you click here, you can see them as a table. So there are different views that you can use to see your lesson plan book. Once again, thank you for your participation in my research study.